Hi, and thank you for watching. This is Tasha Simmons, Florida lawyer and Florida Supreme Court family law mediator. Alrighty, welcome to day 2 of the mandatory disclosure process. Yeah, day 2, and 43 more to go. So right, it'll pass by before you know it. It really will. It really will. It'll fly by. Okay, at least the first 30 days will. So, we're not building Rome in a day here. We're eating the elephant one bite at a time. We started the financial affidavit yesterday. I sort of gave you some general pointers. I left you on your own. Today, we're really going to tackle it. Okay. Now, you should have your W-2, but let's pause for a second and talk about, what if you're 1099? You could be self-employed, or you're an independent contractor for various other entities or people. So that's going to make doing this section tricky because those things are not you don't have a pay stub to pull the information from to complete this section. So there are some things you can do. Now, if you're my client, what you're going to do is you're going to call in or email me or otherwise make an appointment with me so that we can generate those numbers for you based on the tax laws, because that's really where those numbers come from in a pay stub anyway. So we're basically going to estimate your taxes for each of those categories and fill that in for you, right? And your attorney, if you're represented, may be able to do the same for you. Now, if you're self-represented, what I suggest, and I don't, endorse any particular website, but you can actually put in, income calculator to say, hey, or search for an income calculator in a search engine that may or may not rhyme with Google, and just say, what are my taxes if my income is fill in the blank, or tax generator, tax simulator. There are different, a bunch of different searches you can do, right? Or you put in the number of what you got paid for the month, and then it'll tell you, well, this will be your Social Security tax, this will be your federal, this will be whatever else. Okay. So let's just do more of a slower. We're going to slow it down, and we're going to go through the financial affidavit. Okay. Now, there are a lot of great videos here on YouTube about how to go line by line on this thing, and I really don't seek to replace or compete with any of them. I just wanted to include the financial affidavit in our framework of our 45-day breathe and get it done approach to mandatory disclosure. So, if you feel at ease, great. That is my job here. If you want more of a forensic dive into each line of the financial affidavit, there are plenty of great videos for that, and I may include the link to those, in the description. Alrighty, but for the video's sake, and since you're here, let's go at least page by page, section by section, just to make sure you're good. Now, filling out the top of it. That is another video. This part that you see at the top of every court document that you get served or what you're going to file, that is the case style or the case head. Alrighty. So there's a separate video on how to do that. It's not in this series, but it is on this channel. Alrighty. So if you know your role, you can go ahead and put your name there. If you know what goes with those blanks, have at it. All right, financial affidavit, here we are. All right, once again, make sure you're filling out the right form, okay, for your income level. All right, I fill in the blank with your name, being sworn, certify that the following information is true. All right, so you're just gonna put in your name, your age, your occupation, okay, so what you actually do, what is your title, alrighty, what is your role at your job, and then you're going to put, if you're employed, your employer. As you can see, they have different options. So let's stop and talk about unemployed, right? I see a lot of individuals mark that they are unemployed when they are actually self-employed, and that can cause a problem. Again, what we never want to do is even look to the court like we're trying to hide something, right? And I think this is done a lot of times. I'm just not knowing better. If you are working or doing tasks or doing work and people are giving you money for it, even though you're not getting a W-2 or, you know, putting in 9 to 5 somewhere, you're self-employed, okay? Um, Even if you mark unemployed, you're still going to have to account for the money that you earn, alrighty? And there are different ways of proving that you earn it, even if there seemingly is no documentation, right? In the last video, one of the things we mentioned is, well, how are you paying for life and getting along, you know, if you don't have any funds, you know? Okay, well, I'm living at this place, they're paying the mortgage, I don't have to pay anything. So the amount of that mortgage is income. And so you have cases sometimes, I don't see this a lot, not a lot of people are just disrespectful, but there are just some cases where the other side just absolutely will not turn over anything to the court whatsoever. And so what the court does when it's set up and what their opponent is allowed to do is say, well, look, this is what you put in your financial affidavit. Okay, that this is what you spend and this is what you do each month. So we're just going to work backward from there. And it's not a really smart rope to hang yourself with. Okay, now for some people that might be a break still because they have yet other funds, but trust me, it doesn't end there. When the court thinks or knows you're being untruthful on the financial affidavit, that's one of those things that has no statute of limitations. You could always come back once you discover the fraud, and the court can readdress the case with the right information once you get it. So don't leave that door open. All right, so and then even if you are unemployed, if you were not legally disabled, then you're still going to have an income. It's not going to be zero. You could put zero on here, but if child support or alimony or some other financial obligation has to be calculated in this case or decided in this case, then the court is still going to put minimum wage for you in this income line. Okay? So you have to show that you've been making efforts to find work and they, haven't come up anything, right? But if you're not making efforts, or if you left your job intentionally for any reason, then the court is going to impute or look at you like you make the income you left, and at very least minimum wage, depending on the circumstances. Alrighty. So income, we already know, bonuses, commissions, overtime. I have that's the other, I get this a lot, the overtime thing. The only way to get out of the court, including overtime in your pay for child support or whatever purposes, is you have to be able to prove that it's no longer available for you to work. In this process, you're going to be giving over bank statements, you're going to be giving over pay stubs. So that overtime is going to show. So the answer, or there's no relief in just, not working the overtime anymore. If the overtime is still available to you, but you just you stop taking it because you don't want your income to look high in the case, the court's totally going to impute that. And they're going to impute that to you. Alrighty. Well, Social Security, unemployment compensation, all of these things are income to the surprise of many. Alrighty. But we've spoken about income in the video before, and we spent some time now. So let's move over to deductions. We talked about how you can fill this out from your W-2 and what to do if you don't have a W-2. All right. Monthly health insurance. So just make sure when you fill in the health insurance, this is another thing you want to do. I don't know why so many family lawyers like myself wait until the end of the case to do this. Do it at the beginning. Okay. If health insurance is coming out of your check for you and your child or children, and you don't know the breakdown of how much of it is for you versus how much is for the kid or the kids, call HR or payroll or whoever, or log into your personnel account That information is available from HR, okay? Get it. Get it. All right. Because you're going to be asked about on this form health insurance in two different places. So you're going to be asked about what covers you and what covers the children. So you want to make sure that the numbers are right there. Okay. All right. So we'll go on to expenses. We already talked about expenses and how to fill this out in the last video. I won't spend a lot of time here because it's pretty cut and dry. What do you spend each month? You know, if you have something you only use or make a payment once a year, you divide it by 12. This, something you only pay for quarterly, then you multiply it by 4, then divide it by 12, whatever that number is. And if it's not really that regular, it's not quarterly, it's not annual, but it's not monthly either, then you estimate how much you typically spend per year. And then you just divide that number by 12. Alrighty? But we want monthly numbers here. The court is looking for a monthly snapshot of your finances on this form. Alrighty? As far as any other lines on here, I'm not seeing anything that typically causes confusion or draws questions. So we'll move on. Now, if you're my client and you do have questions, that doesn't mean something's wrong with you. It just means you need to call me or use the link in your progress sheet to make an appointment with me so we can talk about your question. Alrighty, great. The next sections seek to establish what is your net worth. But before that, I want you to hit pause. I want you to stand up. I want you to wiggle your arms, shake your neck, loosen your neck. And I want you to breathe. Okay, so go ahead, pause, do it. Now, do it. Okay, did you do it? Okay. So, the last half of this form seeks to establish your net worth. So, by the way, I have this entire form in spreadsheet format, which does all the math. So, I mean, whether I represent you or not, if you want it, just hit me up. And I'll email you a blank that you can use for yourself. And I'm not doing anything else. I'm just sending you the blank. Don't call me. All right. So your assets, you're going to list in the asset section, and your liabilities, you're going to list in the liability section. Why did I state the obvious? There is some confusion about how to fill this part out. So I'll give the two most common examples. A house or home with a mortgage, right? And a car with a car loan or a car note. So you're not subtracting the mortgage or the car note from what the house or the car is worth and then listing that number in the assets. You're listing the fair market value. Okay. If you sold it, this is what it would sell for. If you sold it, this is what it would sell for. That's what you're listing. Okay. Now, the mortgage, you list the balance or what's left as of your completing that form, as of the day that you're completing that form. You list that, okay, as the liability in the liability section. Okay, I hope that clears that up for you. So there is a column there where they want you to mark property that you believe, like, hey, mark this box if you think this should be considered marital property, and mark this box if you think it should be considered non-marital. Am I going to get into what is marital property versus non-marital property in this video? No, I'm not. But I will do a video about it if you want, and when I do, I'll put the link to it in this description. Alrighty? But there's where you're going to mark those off. You'll add up the sum of all your assets, the value of all your assets at the bottom. All right, and that is the first number of your equation for your net worth. And you're going to take the same approach for your liabilities. Okay, they have a lot of categories here. You have other mortgages, credit cards, charge card accounts. Do not put your full account number on these ever. I think it's smart to put the last four digits and the issuer name, like, okay, this is the Chase credit card, so it's like Chase 8044, you know, B of A 1044, or what have you, Capital One 2044. That's great to organize the information for the court, especially if you're not represented. The more you can do to just keep things organized for the court, it's very helpful to the judge or the general magistrate deciding your case. All right. When you talk about contingent assets or liabilities, it's basically future assets, but not future assets like I'm working this job and I know I'm going to get paid next week. It's like I'm going to get this money if something, some uncontrollable happens, right? So I'm going to get this money, I'm going to inherit this property from my great aunt if she kicks the bucket. I hate that example, but it's, one of the examples. Or I'm going to get paid this money as a plaintiff, from this guy that, hit me and ran off. If I win the case, then I'll get X amount of dollars. It's really hard sometimes to pin down or quantify contingent assets or liabilities, but that's what it means. Okay? Yeah. Do what you want with that section. I mean, fill it out, but I mean, that's all I got to work with as far as an explanation. All right, so we've come near the end of our form. We just have one little part that a lot of people skip over because it's so short. You have to check whether or not a child support guideline worksheet will be filed in this case. Okay? Are there children in this case? Are any of them under 18? Then yes, one will be filed. So check that box. Alrighty, so this video's long. I'm going to cut it off now. You did it. Okay, you did it. You made it through day 2. You finished your financial affidavit. You're going to sit and finish it now. You're going to replay this video as many times as you need to help to remember to breathe, help you remember to breathe. And you're going to use any links that might be included in the description for additional help. And you're going to go to bed afterwards or do something relaxing and get this case off of your mind to the extent possible for the rest of the day. All right? So I wish you good rest. I wish you good health. Alrighty. And I will see you back here for day 3.